Hi, if your embroidery transfer lines disappear, smudge, or refuse to come out later, this video will save you a lot of frustration. Today I'm going to show you 5 reliable ways to transfer an embroidery pattern onto fabric, including what's working on dark fabric, textured linen, and how to do it without a Lightbox. You just need phone, tablet, or a window. By the end, you'll know exactly which method to use for your fabric, and you'll stop losing the lines mid-project. Before we touch any tools, let's do the 4 rules that prevent about 90% of all transfer problems. Rule number 1. Always test your marking tool on a scrap of the same fabric. Not similar, the same. Different fabrics hold pigment differently, so you want to draw on the same fabric and try to erase it. Rule number 2. Keep the transfer lines light. Your stitches are the final art, not your lines. So if your line is too dark, it will peek through or you will find it later. Rule number 3. Match the method to the fabric. Smooth cotton is easy. Textured linen is harder and dark fabric needs contrast, so one method does not fit all. Rule number 4. Stabilize your layers so nothing shifts. Most messy transfer come from the pattern sliding while you trace. The tiny thing that makes choosing easier, some transfers are temporary. They're meant to disappear, and some are permanent. You stitch right over the lines. And some methods put the design directly on the fabric, while others use a removable layer like a stabilizer. I'll call out what each method is as we go. And quick note, there are lots of transfer methods out there. In this video, I'm focusing on the ones that cover the most common embroidery setups. And if you want the full menu, projector, a heat transfer, freezer sheets and more, I've listed those in my full article. There is also a transfer picker quiz inside. Link is below. Method 1 is tracing with a backlight. That's a window, tablet, or a phone setup. This is the easiest method for light fabrics like cotton or muslin, or easy designs that aren't extremely detailed. Here's the basic idea. You place pattern underneath, fabric on top, and you trace. I've got my pattern printed on paper. When I do this, I always tape down the pattern first, then I place the fabric on top and tape that down too, because if the fabric shifts, your lines will look wobbly and you'll blame your hands, but it's actually the fabric moving. This one is very light, so I can see through right away, and also I can tape it to the mat, or I can first place it in a hoop and trace while it's stretched. It's going to be much more visible. Now I place it and it's visible, but this method is called backlight tracing, so you should have more light from the back than from the side. Like here, it's very sunny today, so I turn off the light and you can see the pattern more clearly, and now you can trace. Sometimes the fabric is thin enough that you don't need the backlight at all, but keep in mind that such fabric will show any threads you have on the back as well, so for stitching, double the layers. One more tip: straight lines are best made with a ruler, and if you are using a ruler, you're not using hoop, unless you place the image in the hoop right side up. Then you align the lines. If you'd be starting this way, you wouldn't need to do the aligning step. Okay, then we tape it to the fabric. And we can trace with the ruler from the right side up. This was the version when you could see clearly without any backlight, otherwise you need a Lightbox. Now, if you don't have a Lightbox, there are 3 options that work. Option 1, the tablet method. Turn the brightness all the way up, open a blank white screen, lock your screen so the image can't slide around while you trace. If your device has a screen lock or a guided access feature, use it. Put the pattern on top, then the fabric, and tape the corners. I'm tracing with very light pressure, not trying to carve the line into fabric. I just want to guide for my stitches. If you're on smooth cotton, this is usually very easy to trace. On textured linen, you'll feel the pen skip a little. That's the texture. Option 2. Phone flashlight under a glass. Turn on the flashlight. Place the image over and trace. But so it works better, you need some glass table underneath, so just imagine it's on the table and the light is gonna show you all the lines very clearly. It's best for small designs. Option 3, window tracing. One of the most effortless methods. Tape the pattern to the window, tape the fabric over it and trace. Now, tracing on textured linen can be annoying because the texture breaks your line. If you're tracing on linen and feel like your pen is skipping, don't fight it. Linen usually does better with transfer paper or stabilizer, and I'll show those later. So method 1 is temporary if you're using a removable pen. It's direct on fabric and it's best for light fabric with backlight. A little note, there is so many permanent and temporary marking tools, transfer devices that I listed them all in my article to save us some time here. Method 2 is transfer paper, also called carbon paper. This is my go-to for linen and textured fabric, and it's also one of the easiest ways to transfer onto dark fabric as long as you use white or yellow transfer paper. One thing before we get into it, make sure you're using non-wax carbon paper, the kind made for dressmaking. It's specifically designed not to smudge, which makes a big difference. For example, I have this by DMC. Or I also have this from Burda, it's red and blue, and this one's yellow and blue. So let's try on the light fabric first. Here's how it works. The transfer sheet goes between your paper pattern and the fabric, with the coated or shiny side facing the fabric. Tape down all layers and trace over your lines with a pencil or stylus. 2 important tips here. Tip 1. Use consistent, light pressure. If you press too hard, you can dent the fabric or make the line look muddy. Tip 2. Prevent smudging. If you rest your hand over the transfer sheet, it can smear, and I like to keep a clean sheet of paper under my hand as I work across the design. Okay, let's see what we have. And here is our pattern. If you're on dark fabric, white transfer paper gives you a line that you can actually see on dark fabric, which is the whole point. The one downside, transfer paper can rub off or smudge if you handle it a lot before stitching, so if you know you will stitch slowly over weeks, stabilizer can be more reliable. This one is usually temporary-ish, it can fade or rub off. It's direct on fabric and it's great for linen and dark fabric. Method 3 is water-soluble stabilizer, sometimes called stick and stitch or printable stabilizer. This is, I want this to be over method, especially for dark fabric, textured linen and high detail pattern with tiny lines, because all of your lines will stay visible the whole duration of your embroidery project. Here's the workflow. You put the design on the stabilizer, draw it, trace it, print on it, depending on what you have. Then you stick it onto the fabric and stitch through it. When you're finished, you rinse it away with water. 2 notes so you don't get surprised. First, if your strands can bleed, especially reds, dark blues or hand-dyed threads, test first. And then when you rinse, do not aggressively rub the stitches. Usually gentle soak and the rinse is enough. This method is temporary because it dissolves, and it's one of the methods where the design lives on a removable layer instead of a fabric. If you want the most beginner-proof option across tricky fabrics, stabilizer is often the least frustrating. Method 4 is direct marking, drawing directly onto the fabric with a pen, pencil or chalk tool. This can be great for simple designs or for drawing a grid, for example for sashik embroidery, but it's also the easiest way to accidentally make a permanent decision you didn't mean to make, so test first. Always. Direct marking includes both tracing a pattern onto fabric and sketching freehand. Freehand is great for simple shapes, improvisation, and when you have drawing experience. This method is more about choosing the right tool than anything else. On light fabric, water-soluble pen can work really well, but some pens fade while you stitch, which is either helpful or annoying, depending on your process. Purple ink pens are air erasable, and if your humidity is rising, lines will disappear quickly. Blue ink pens are the ones that are water erasable. On dark fabric, chalk pencils or white marking tools can work, but they can rub off while you handle the fabric, so they're better for faster projects or for sections you will finish soon. And heat erasable pens, great, but treat them with caution. Some can reappear in cold conditions, so if you're gifting or selling finished embroidery, make sure you cover all the lines with thread, or choose a different method. Direct marking can be temporary or permanent depending on the tool, and it's always directly on fabric. It's best when you already know your stitches will cover the line and you don't need to transfer to survive perfectly for weeks or months. Method 5 is my personal favorite, printing directly on fabric with an inkjet printer. The idea is simple. You temporarily mount your fabric onto a sheet of label paper, run it through the printer, and your pattern prints exactly where you want it. No tracing, no shifting, no smudging. 2 important rules though. 1. The fabric should be non-stretchy. Stable cotton is great, avoid needs for this method. 2. Printed lines are basically permanent, so choose designs where the stitching will be covered or where the lines being there won't bother you. If your fabric is stretchy, use printable stabilizer instead, that fits better and won't distort as easily. I have a full step-by-step tutorial for printing on fabric already uploaded on my channel, so I'll link it below. If you have an inkjet printer and you want the cleanest, most predictable transfer, this is it. But keep in mind, this one is permanent and directly on fabric, so go in knowing your stitches will live with these lines. Let's do quick troubleshooting. My line disappeared mid-project. This happens a lot with water and air erasable pens. The fix is simple. You don't redraw the whole transfer, you just redraw small sections that you're gonna stitch next. My transfer won't come out. First, stop rubbing. Rubbing can set pigment into the fabric much deeper, so try a gentle soak. And remember, if your stitch is covered, it won't show and it doesn't matter. My fabric is too thick or too dark, nothing shows through. Use stabilizer or white transfer paper. And if you can print on fabric, try that. Here's a quick picker you can screenshot mentally. If you're on light cotton and simple design, tablet or window tracing is great. If you're on textured linen, transfer paper is usually easier, stabilizer is the most reliable for tiny detail. If you're on dark fabric, white transfer paper or stabilizer, those are the winners. And if you want the most beginner-proof method across fabrics, printing on stabilizer or directly on fabric is the most foolproof. I put everything from this video into a step-by-step article, and there is a transfer picker quiz inside. So you can choose your fabric, your tools, and you will get the method I would use. The article is linked below, and it also includes extra method I didn't demo here, so if your setup is unusual, check that list. If you're new to embroidery, my biggest tip is treat transfer like a skill. Start with samplers. They are beginner friendly because they're easy to trace, forgiving to stitch, and you learn fast without fighting with your fabric. If you're in intermediate level, landscapes are a great next step. They're usually not too tricky to transfer, but they really reward smooth shapes. And if you are advanced or if you want the most polished results, go for architecture and city patterns. That's where the transfer accuracy matters the most. If you want help choosing your exact method, don't forget to check out my transfer picker quiz. Answer a few questions and it will tell you what I'd use for your fabric. Now tell me in the comments, what fabric do you stitch on the most? Is it cotton, linen, light or dark? What's your favorite transfer method? Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.